Here, I don't know, just a test run to try to get Arian on this show. But her name is Carson Blue. What's the tea? Guess who's making an appearance in tonight's episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville? Be sure to tune in, and then she tagged Carlos King and tell y'all want to see more. She telling us to tag him and telling y'all want to see more of Carson Blue. No, we don't. Bastion says, are you friends with Martell's baby mama? Carson Blue says to Bastion, no, I'm not. Before I moved to Huntsville and knew anything about any of them, I met her on social media. This is my new page, but I used to have 140,000 followers. She was one of them. I made posts about possibly moving to Huntsville, and she was one of the people who communicated with me on social media about my move here. She did eventually tell me she was involved in a scandal in Huntsville, but the way she told me her side of the story was very remorseful. I didn't care. I went on and checked out one season and learned that it was a real situation. I still didn't care because she explained it as if it was more than entertainment for TV. Y'all notice she said she don't care a damn about what happened to Mel in her relationship, y'all. Either way, she was cool. And if she had not asked me a question that I found very distasteful and disgusting, she would still be cool. But I haven't spoken with her in over 2 years. Yeah, you guys. So that's Carson Blue is saying something about she don't like drama and all of that. But guess this what, y'all? This is, I believe, my opinion. Carlos had to approve for this girl to get on the show. I believe that this was where Arian was supposed to have entered, but Mel wasn't having it. But what they doing is they trying to do a test run, you guys. This is not no innocent situation. All of them in on it. Kimmy and the Scots, let's just say the Scots are in on it. Everybody probably in on it except for Miss Fletcher there. But this is a test run. What do y'all think? Do y'all think that this girl should be on that show? She made a statement, said she, even after she found out that this was a scandal, she said, I didn't even care. And if she did, she done played everybody. She done played Arian, who's supposed to be so smart. She done played you, girl. And now she's with Tisha. She purposely been with Tisha. And then guess who else? Carlos King, the big boy. The big boy, Carlos King, and approved this nigga to be on this show, y'all. This is something, this is a low blow. And then she says, let's see if I can read this. The bottom of it says, Fashion says that I'll do drama anyway, but I knew y'all were eventually going to come and ask. And as long as Arian keeps it cute, I would never reveal what she asked me pertaining to the castmate. Willie Lynch syndrome. Let's just see. A lot of my people suffer from the Willie Lynch syndrome. It's a form of mental slavery. I remember as little girls growing up, they will have colors only, whites only over here. And as I tried to go into a business establishment, they would shoot at me, cuss me, and run me away. Much like what just happened to me with Stormy business. Then I hear all over the internet that I shouldn't go to this place of business. A black person saying that they're selling products, and you guys, my black race, says I can't go to this business. Oh, do I remember? Do I remember getting shot at? Yeah, threatened like Stormy did me. Dog sicked on me like that guy come out the door with his dog. Let's just say many of you suffer from the Willie Lynch syndrome.
To hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn on notifications so that you never miss a new video. Let's get started. Willie.
Oh, how do I know what the Willie Lynch syndrome is? This is coming from Let's Teach. Say, who is Willie Lynch? The making of a slave. Now, I just can see all the slave mentality when that incident when I went to Stormy's. Oh, how I remember back in the day when it says colored on one side only, whites on one side only. Oh, how my psychic is keep hearing ringing in my voice. You can't go to that business all over the internet. Some of you are saying she ain't got no business going to that business. Then there's Stormy. Get the out of my business before I do something to you. I remember being threatened like that by the white supremacists. Oh, but you don't have to be threatened. They don't threaten you no more. It's your own people that develop the Willie Lynch syndrome, the making of a slave mentally. Well, now you can look at your brothers and say, oh, no, you ain't got no business being in that business. Sounding like that white supremacist. Let's go see so y'all can understand what the making of a slave mentally
was. Purportedly a white slave owner in the West Indies who was summoned to Virginia in 1712 due to slave revolts in the area. Because of his reputation as an authoritarian and strict slave master, he was perceived as the person best suited to help quash the uprisings. Legend has it that Lynch stood on the banks of the James River in Virginia and delivered a speech to fellow slave owners in which he gave advice on how they can solve their slave problems. According to him, the secret to controlling black slaves was to set them against one another, taking advantage of their differences to promote conflict among them. This method, he said, would ensure that the slaves would be controlled for at least 300 more years. Part of Lynch's speech read, I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies.
Yes, that's what Stormy says. Well, I feared for my life for that old black woman coming up here to my establishment. Yeah, and so the Willie Lynch syndrome is all over the internet. She had no business going to that business, but oh, did I see that colored only sign? But now I'm confused because these are colored people that I am trying to patronize. The making of a slave. Fear, turning them against each other. The making of a slave when they will sick the dogs on you for trying to come to their business. The mental makings of a slave now, they are the people that look like you and me that's now coming outside with dogs. You ain't got no business going to that girl business. She got a business now. And it's not unusual that you can go purchase product from a warehouse. But with my people lack of understanding with their slave mentality, they often mimic their slave master's children. She ain't got no business at this woman business.
And it will work throughout the South. Lynch went on to say that he exploited the age and color of slaves, using these attributes to sow.
Let's talk about the ageism that's going around on the internet. She too old. Yes, and then Stormy said she too old. Then there's a guy that's on there. Oh Lord have mercy, I don't mean to insult the guy, but he got my face front and center. She too old. She's starting stuff again with her old self. I even heard him say, old people ain't got no business being on the internet or bloggers. But then I am confused. Because when I look at this blogger, I thought he was maybe between 65 and 70. People reassured me, no, he's a young man, he's a young man. No, I just can't believe it. But they say he's a young man, but see, that's his karma. He walking around here looking like a 65 to 75-year-old man, but he always criticizing the elderly. Oh, how karma had hit him. If only he knew that he looked like he was 65 and 70 and got a slave mentality. Oh, that old woman, he said, got my picture up there. Then another blogger, he attacked her. Old people ain't got no business being bloggers on the internet. Ageism is another way, a form of mental slavery. Oh, the Willie Lynch syndrome, how that they were going to be able to control these people. Ageism is one.
Discord among them. To outline this method, he said, don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the...
Yes, colorism, that's a big one in our community. Colorism is another way that it's a Willie Lynch syndrome. The making of a slave. Yeah, colorism.
The light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female.
Sexism, such as what Carlos came to me. He got a lot of sexism going on. All of his videos of all his shows creation, he failed to protect black women. Melody Hopes is being bullied on this man's show, but he don't seem to care because this is a woman. Sexism, females against. These are part of the Willie Lynch syndrome, and it's working, my people. You see this man right here with chains on his arm. We don't have chains on our arm or chains on our feet anymore. We have mental chains on our brain. She's too old. Get away from my business, before I call the police on you. Get away from my business before I take something out and go pow, pow. Get away from my business before I call the slave patrol on you. Oh, she too old. She don't have no business being on the internet. Oh yes. Almost everybody on the internet. Oh yeah, that old lady ain't got no business going to her business. Oh, how I remember those signs, colored people only, whites only. But this time, I'm watching the Willie Lynch control mechanism, and I'm confused. These are colored people, African people that look like me, telling me, you don't belong here. All on the internet. You don't belong there. Are you too old?
You must also have white servants and overseers who distrust all blacks. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must...
Yes. What if I was a big-time reporter? A white reporter? No. I would never be met with all those threats and telling me, get away, don't come on my property, you old black woman. You old bare-mouthed black woman, don't come to my business. If I would have been a white one, or whether I was a young one or old one, I would have been received. I would have been welcome. Yes, I do know that. Because we see it all the time. It don't matter what age they are. They welcome simply because they are white. You're suffering from the Willie Lynch syndrome, the making of a mental slave.
Love, respect, and trust only us. The full text of this speech was first published sometime in 1970, entitled The Making of a Slave. However, widespread awareness of it only came during the Million Man March in October 1995. When Louis Farrakhan, a renowned religious leader and political activist, quoted a few parts of it to emphasize the lingering effects of slavery in the United States. In particular, he said, "We as a people now have been fractured, divided, and destroyed, filled with fear, distrust, and envy. Therefore, because of fear, envy, and distrust of one another, many of us as leaders, teachers, educators, pastors, and persons are still under the control mechanism of our former slave masters and their children." The making of a slave is certainly impactful and
Yes, the making of a slave. So now our slave master children is controlling us. Well, see, the slave master children is very, very intelligent. He charges you now for his brand. He charges you thousands of dollars for his Gucci brand. The slave master children don't have to take a piece of iron and put his brand on you. He charges you now for them Nikes tennis shoes. You are a slave, a mental slave. Get off of my property! I'm bringing the dogs out on you. I'm bringing the pow-pow on you. Oh, that old woman don't belong. Ageism, sexism, fear, mistrust. Yeah, the making of a slave. Who is Willie Lynch? Willie Lynch was smart. Yeah, he said all we have to do is pit these black people against each other. You turn the light skin against the dark skin. You turn the old one against the young one. Yeah, you let you let the ones that go in the house and cook for you, and the other one has to go in the field. That's the field Negro versus the house Negro, and they don't trust each other. They're divided. Yeah, but only I can trust my slave master children. I can trust my slave master children because had it been black Titanic would have been white. This would have never happened. That girl would have welcomed me with open arms. I could have been CBS News. She would have opened me up with welcome arms, and nobody on this internet would have been saying, "Oh, she don't belong there. She don't belong." How do I remember those days when they were sicking the dogs on us, when they were shooting at us, when they were beating us upside the head, when they would set you on fire, when they take a rope and they named it after Willie Lynch and lynched you for just trying to patronize a business. Who is Willie Lynch? The making of a slave. That's my people. Because you see, destiny is standing up there in her door. And Stormy gonna walk in there with who? Her slave master brand. Yes, her slave master brand. And yeah, and everybody on the internet. Oh yeah, that expensive brand, they have it. You see, yeah, I don't have to burn you with the hot iron no more. I am your slave master children. You gonna have to pay for my brand and the joy in my people's heart when they say that I can pay for this white man's brand. Gucci, Tommy Hilfiger, Nikes, and go on and on and on. Long as I got their brand, I'm somebody. Yeah, during the civil rights movements, yeah, I was trying to get out, trying to fight for rights for the next generation. But now I look up and I see this next generation. Get that old lady away from here. This old lady been barred. Bar her from that establishment. She don't have no business going to storming business. No, she don't. She ain't got no business being there. She too old. bar her from that business. But you see, the only difference, the confusion is that they look like me. They are my children or the children of the children that I fought for. Watching all this blood spill all over the ground. Blood all over the leaves of the trees from the hanging and the mutilation. Only to look up today for this generation to say, "Ball from there, she don't belong at Stormy's business. She don't have no business at Stormy's business." The Willie Lynch syndrome, mental slavery. Now they don't have to get out there. They don't have to get out their billy sticks and beat me. Cause my own children would tell me, "You don't belong. Get the F off this property."
And to continue the fight for voting rights. The Selma establishment was known to be among the most egregious in barring blacks from the polls. But what started as a peaceful protest ended with unspeakable violence. The veteran activist clearly recalls the events of that day, and she recently recounted them to middle school students in Los Angeles.
Under Dr. King, we decided that what we need to do is to have a bill that would let Negroes become registered voters. We were going to march from Selma, Alabama, which is on the river bridge, to Montgomery. I was near the front at the beginning. They came with horses. They came with nice sticks. And I was standing and people were running because they were beating me. And then he hit me on my shoulder. I did not run, so he hit me at the base of my neck. And I became unconscious.
Yes, get that old lady, get away from my business before I do something to you. Yes, that's how I was treated. Yeah, that's no different. There's no different than to look at the children of the children that I fought for. I fought boots on the ground. So you young people to sit up behind this internet, sit on the internet to be free. And now that I'm old, you tell me, buy that old lady from your business establishment. She too old. She don't belong.
They drug me off of the highway. And there I lay. I don't know how long. But somebody said to one of the state troopers, "She's dead." So they reported it to Jim Clark, who was a sheriff. And he said, "If she's dead, let her alone and let the bus sleep."
Images of the atrocities that day sparked shock and outrage across the globe. When Boynton Robinson became aware of the magnitude of the malfeasance that occurred on Bloody Sunday, it intensified her resolve.
So it made my determination to do better and go farther.
Boynton Robinson was present at the White House when President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act into law in August 1965.
So now that we got freedom, right? Yeah, got freedom. This old lady been fighting for your freedom. Now you can look at me and say, "Get away. You don't belong. You too old. You don't belong on the internet. You just bought her from starting a business. She don't belong." She don't belong there at Stormy business. Yeah. I remember watching the blood stains all over the leaves in the woods where they done hung maybe my family member, your family member, your ancestors. I remember the lynchings. I remember the running. I remember the dog bites. I remember all that because you want to enter a business establishment. I remember the pow, the shooting at you because you're trying to enter this establishment. No, she was that old lady, black cat, too old. Bar her from Stormy's establishment. She ain't got no business in Stormy's establishment, her place of business. And there are some reason, well, I question her motives. Yeah, well, it's sentence. If I was white, you wouldn't have questioned my motive. You would have welcomed me with open arms. Buy that old lady. Get that old lady away from here before I hurt her.
Episode became known as Bloody Sunday. It sparked worldwide outrage and helped garner support for the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. As the 50th anniversary of the event approaches on March 7th, Boynton Robinson is not bitter. Instead, she remains resolute in her belief that although she almost died fighting for freedom, the struggle was worthwhile.
After Bloody Sunday, people began to wake up, and those who have arisen because of our Bloody Sunday, they have excelled.
Despite her age, Boynton Robinson's activism is...
Yeah. Just don't try to enter into some of these young folks' business. Old timers don't just enter in because you might get hurt. They might do something to you for trying to enter into their business the same. You almost have got your eye socket beaten out of your head. And you never would think that coming down the line, this next generation will look at you and bar you, tell you you don't belong here. The sacrifices that you and I have made, Miss Robinson, they don't care. It's all over the internet. She don't belong. Bar her from that business. The same old lady that done marched and fought, got eye socket almost out of my head. Watch your titties be bit. Some of these women's titties be bitten off by dogs. Stormy sent the dogs outside. Dogs come outside with the young man. Then there's coordinating in my face. What you doing here? Get out of the way from her. And then I got to listen at Stormy threatening me and cussing me out for coming to her place of business. Then I got to hold my head up and look at everybody on the internet. Men's on the internet looking like they 70 years old, telling me that she don't belong, that old lady down there starting some. All I wanted to do was patronize her business. Oh, but she don't belong. We don't have to use our slave master no more. We don't have to have no whips, no billy goats, no billy sticks, no nothing white people don't have to do anymore. Because this generation is undergoing mental slavery. They'll do it themselves. They even pay to do it. Anyway, 50 years later, 100 years later, I never would have thought that I would have to be fearful of my own people. She don't belong here. Bar her from that business. She don't belong.